Alright, so usually I would only be cooking in this apron, but I was advised against it. Nonetheless, this is still going to be an enticing segment. So to get started, to make it easy, what I did was separate everything by meal. Why? Because I want to keep myself organized, 1, and 2, I don't want to waste anything. Okay, so let's just start wherever. I'm going to do pork. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cook all the pork, and then I'm going to use whatever's left. There'll probably be 2 to 3, maybe even 4 pieces left, and I'm going to do pork fried rice. Okay, then we have our spaghetti with that great lean ground beef that we bought and whole grain pasta. We're going to do tuna melts one night, weekend night. That's a great meal with some chips. Then we have our ground chicken, which we won't use all of, but we're going to do a ground chicken and brown rice dish. And we're gonna do tostadas with ground chicken and taco seasoning. We also have our chicken thighs, which we're gonna do with some tomatoes and asparagus. I'm gonna roast some potatoes. And then this is also lunch ideas. So we have bread, we have peanut butter, we have bananas, we have ham, we have hot dogs for the kids, apples for snacks. We have plenty of food left, so this is great. So let's go ahead. The brown rice is already cooking, so it'll be ready for us to get started. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna get started on is the spaghetti. So I have about 5 quarts of water boiling here, heavily salted just to give the noodles extra flavor. I'm gonna start over here and get the onions going. I usually will add a little bit of oil just so they don't stick. You don't have to. It's just a tad, just a little bit. Okay, so while those are browning, I'm gonna get started on the pork chops. I just layered them out in the same dish that I'm gonna bake them in. And right now I'm just gonna add some seasoning. When it comes to seasoning, honestly, whatever you have is fine. Pork chops, I like to add some herbs, whatever I have. Sea salt, Lowry's, it doesn't really matter. Sea salt is a little bit healthier, so that's a great option. Paprika, so let's just keep it simple. Let's do sea salt, paprika, and some pepper. Alright, so those are just about ready for me to add in the ground beef. Perfect. Let's get some of these pork chops in the pan. So just brown as many as you can at one time. Oh yeah, that's the sound you want, baby. We're just gonna brown these on each side for, I don't know, a couple minutes, just until they get a nice mark. And then they're gonna go back in the pan and we're gonna finish baking them. With pork chops, it's nice if you just get a brown and then bake them really slow and low so that they stay tender and juicy. While those are browning, let's go ahead and add in our ground beef. I just did a pound, which is fine, especially if you're on a budget. And I'm gonna add in a bunch of vegetables just to kind of bulk up the sauce. Try not to overdo it on the seasoning salt because this is really high sodium, but it gives a nice flavor. All right, let's check our pork chops. That looks nice, a nice grill mark. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer these back to the baking pan, brown the rest of them, and then we'll be ready to stick them in the oven. Okay, so we browned our pork chops, our meat and onions are browned for the spaghetti. I'm gonna bring this down to a simmer and get our sauce in. This is an organic sauce, no sugar, no salt added, so that's ideal. If you have a little wine at home, I always suggest adding about a half a cup, but if you don't, it's okay. We'll make do. Make sure you get all of the sauce though. So I just added, I don't even know, maybe 1/8 of a cup of water just to get all that good herbs and sauce from the side. Okay? So from there, I'm gonna go ahead and let that simmer. But what I like to do is add in some fresh vegetables just to kind of bulk up the sauce. And you know, if you have kids, it's a good way for them to get their veggies. So what I have here is 1 head of broccoli, some bell peppers from that big ass bell pepper we got at the 99-cent store, and a tomato that I had. So I'm just gonna add that in. I'm gonna add it in now so that it doesn't cook down too much. This is gonna simmer pretty much until our noodles are done. So it's gonna marry all these flavors together. You can add some more seasoning if you want. Just taste it and whatever tastes good to you. So we're gonna go ahead, let that come up to a simmer, put the lid on and just let it be for a while. Okay, so back to our pork chops. They're browned. If you want to add some more seasoning, you can. It's really up to you. Quickest way that I'll do this, I just have some sliced onions. I'm just gonna layer the onions on top. This is a lot of pork chops, so if you want to add more onions, that's fine. They're going to reduce heavily and just become a nice part of the gravy. So about a cup of broth, or until it starts to come up the side. This is what's going to keep them nice and moist. And it's going to make a really nice broth too. Alright, so that's pretty simple. I'm going to cover those. I'm going to stick them in the oven. Cook them slow for about an hour at 325, and we'll check on them in a bit. All right, so this is looking good. It's still simmering, and we're gonna let it go for a little bit, but let's just taste it to see what we need to add. Okay, it tastes good. The vegetables still have a nice crunch to them. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt because it's lacking a little bit. Okay, our water's boiling. I'm gonna add just a touch of oil so our noodles don't stick together. And then let's go ahead and add in our pasta. So this is a 100% whole grain pasta, which is great. It's a little bit healthier than regular pasta. Okay, so let's get started on our chicken thighs. I'm just gonna go ahead and cook all of these, and then we'll probably have a couple left over. You can put it in salad or whatever you want. So what I have going over here, so the asparagus and the tomatoes we got, I'm just laying them in the bed of this pan, and I added a little bit of balsamic. That's gonna be the bed for our chicken thighs. I'm gonna do a little bit of onion powder. A little garlic powder. And if I wasn't cooking for kids, I would probably put maybe a little cayenne or red chili pepper flakes, but we want to keep it mild with the kiddies in mind. And then just for fun, let's add a little bit of pepper. Okay, so these are going to go right into the hot pan and get a little brown on them. I'm going to put seasoning side down. It's going to give them the nicest brown. So this was a really great deal that we got. This is 10 chicken thighs, and they were 50% off. I ended up paying $4 and some change, which is pretty amazing. These also have the bone in, which is going to keep them moist through the cooking process. And we're going to try to squeeze these last two guys in if we can. So because we're not going to have these in the oven for too long, I am going to let them brown for about 8 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and transfer them back into the other pot. So while my chicken is browning, I cut up about half a bag of those red potatoes. We're going to do some roasted potatoes to go with our chicken thighs and asparagus. I already started. I added just a little bit of olive oil, some rosemary. I'm going to also add in some fresh garlic. I'm going to add sea salt. And I'm going to add a little bit of paprika just for some color. Alright. So now I'm just going to toss these around a little bit, make sure that they're evenly coated. For the best browning, I would put them on a baking dish. But either way, if you just, are trying to conserve bowls and you want to leave them in this dish, that's fine. They're going to bake at the same temperature as the chicken thighs and probably about the same time, so it's perfect. It's an easy meal, easy prep. Put them in the oven, you have dinner in about a half an hour. So our pasta's done. We don't want to overcook it. As soon as it's done, we want to drain it. If you feel like maybe you overcooked it just a tad, run some cold water over it. I don't like to do that because then I'm losing all that salt that I just put in the water. Alright, so from here, I'm just gonna go ahead and transfer it directly into our delicious sauce that's been simmering. Easy. All right, so what I'd like to do is get everything nice and coated. And then I'm just gonna leave that with the top on for a while until we're ready to eat. Spaghetti is one of those meals that even if you cook it on Sunday, it's gonna be good, honestly, for the next few days. And the longer that these noodles sit in the sauce, the longer they're gonna marinate and the better it's gonna taste. So our thighs look really good. Look at that beautiful golden brown, delicious. So I'm gonna take these, put them face up right into our pan, right over our asparagus. Now, I took all the skin off of these thighs just because I don't think you need the skin. They still brown up really nicely and develop really nice flavor. I'm gonna stick it in the oven for about 25 minutes. I'm gonna put these potatoes right next to it. Okay, so we're starting on the next round here. I have some potatoes, the rest of those red skin potatoes. I'm gonna make mashed potatoes. I'm just gonna boil the water, let them soak in there with some salt and let them be. I'm gonna do some, that head of cabbage that we got, I'm gonna just saute it with some onions, caramelize it a little bit, some chicken stock, Lowry's, and call it a day. Okay, so here's my chopped onions. Let's get those going. Pan should be hot. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay. I'm just gonna add, just for now, a dash of chicken stock. And then in this pan, which now I have hot, I'm gonna start cooking our chicken, one batch of our chicken for the brown rice dish that I'm gonna make. Super easy. Ground chicken, brown rice, black beans, and bell peppers. High protein, an easy meal. Everybody loves it, and you'll have leftovers too. Okay, so we like that. Pan is nice and hot. We're just gonna let that get hot and do its thing. I am gonna add to this one, I keep this one really simple and really healthy. So I'm just gonna do sea salt, some ground pepper, and I am gonna add in some fresh garlic that will cook up really nicely in that meat. The onions are getting nice and caramelized, so we're gonna add in the cabbage. I'm gonna add in probably about a half a cup to a cup of chicken stock, just so it gives it some moisture and it's gonna cook down. Again, Lowry's and whatever seasoning. Don't limit yourself to seasonings. We're just trying to keep it basic with ingredients that, you know, most people would have. And you know, again, we're not spending a lot of money on seasonings, but if you have seasonings at home, experiment with them. All right, so this is gonna get hot. This is gonna cook down. We're just gonna kind of leave it alone for a while. And as things start to get done in your pan, make sure you're tasting things to make sure it's a flavor that you want. This chicken is gonna be done in probably another minute or two. This is a really good chicken. And remember guys, this is that ground chicken that I got at Super King for 89 cents a pound. So it's a good deal. Our chicken's done, it looks good. I added actually just a little bit of dried oregano for some extra seasoning. Our cabbage is getting there. We're gonna just kind of let it do its thing. Our potatoes are boiling, so I'm gonna let those go until they're soft. All right, so this dish, again, brown rice, black beans, chicken or turkey, whatever you have, super easy. I just rinsed a can of black beans. I cut up about, I don't know, 2/3 of that red onion from the 99-cent store. And this rice cooker has done its job and made us a whole batch of brown rice here. I'm gonna add about 4 cups to my pan. About half a cup of brown rice is a serving size, so this is gonna be more than enough for your family of 5. And it's also gonna give us enough left to make our fried rice a little bit later. So let's just get all those flavors marrying. The juice from the ground chicken is what you want. That's what's gonna flavor this really nicely. Super easy. This and spaghetti, make it on Sunday. You have dinner for the next 2 nights plus leftovers. Okay, so I just pulled the potatoes out because they're soft and they're done. Chicken thighs probably need about 5 to 10 more minutes, but make sure you don't overcook your potatoes. Okay, so I'm browning this last batch of ground chicken that I'm gonna use today. And this is gonna be for tostadas. So I got some tostada shells, I got some refried beans. We're gonna make a whole meal out of this. As soon as this is done, which is any second now, I'm gonna add in our taco seasoning, drain any fat, and add in a little bit of water. Just follow the directions. Okay, so I added in the taco seasoning. It's looking good. This is a healthier alternative to using ground beef. And again, we got it on sale, so even better. All right, so our pork chops are done. I took out 3 of the pork chops and cut them into pieces for our pork fried rice. So this will be your second pork meal of the day. Whew, that's a lot of pork. Second pork meal of the week. So it's very easy and you can control how much oil you use. So it's actually pretty healthy, and we're gonna use brown rice. What I'm gonna start with is the pork. Just get it in the pan. Again, this is just chopped up, leftover. You're gonna add your green onions. I have some garlic left over that I'm gonna add. And I'm gonna crack 3 eggs and scramble that in there as well. Oops. Watch for shells. So this is a good leftover dish. It gives you a chance to use kind of what you have. We don't want anything to go bad. Okay, so let that heat up, get that scrambled. After that's done, we're gonna add in the rice and then add in the soy sauce to taste. So now that our eggs are done, I'm gonna go ahead and add 4 cups of rice. Or whatever you have. If you don't have 4 cups, if you have extra, whatever works. And this is fried rice, so we're gonna add a little bit of oil, but let's not overdo it. We do want to add a little bit crisp to the rice. Okay, and then let's get our soy sauce in there. And this is just to taste. If you can buy a low sodium soy sauce, that's even better. But don't go overboard. But again, we're using brown rice, so we are already doing better than most. Serve this with the cabbage that we made would be a great pair. I also have some broccoli steaming back here that would be nice with it. But to me, cabbage, fried rice kind of goes hand in hand. Okay, the last meal that we have, I'm gonna do tuna melts. So I took our 2 cans of tuna, and just to bulk it up a little bit, I actually added a can of the mixed veggies, which is good. I added some celery for some crunch, and I added a little bit of mayo. I also used a little bit of the juice from the vegetables just to kind of avoid using too much mayo. We cut back on calories too. So I'm just gonna load these up with tuna. And then I had some shredded cheese in the fridge, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that. Be generous with the cheese, it's the best part. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of butter to my pan to heat up. That way our sandwiches get a nice crust on them. So this tuna should definitely get you through dinner. If you're trying to watch your calories, we did make a nice green salad, so you could just put a scoop on top of that. Okay, remember that great deal we got on the ground chicken? Of course you do, because I can't stop talking about it. But we're gonna put some in the freezer. One of the freshest ways to keep your meats and actually anything in the freezer is using this food saver. It has this great sucking action that just takes all the air out. It's gonna prolong its shelf life. Okay, so after it's all sealed, I'm gonna go ahead and date it and then just stick it in the freezer. All right, somebody definitely owes me a drink after this because this was a lot, but I'm super excited for everything that we made. This is pretty amazing. Okay, so let's just start from the beginning. So we have my version of spaghetti, even though it's not spaghetti noodles. This is the whole grain pasta from the 99-cent store. We have our tostadas with the ground chicken and taco seasoning. We can do tostadas, you can do taco salad, lots of different options there. We have our tuna salad, tuna melt, which looks delicious. We also have tuna over here on a tostada. You can just put a scoop on this beautiful green salad, good for leftovers. We have our chicken thighs that we baked with the asparagus and the tomatoes, which would pair perfectly with our roasted potatoes over here. Then we have our pork chops, which I baked. Serve those up with cabbage, would be delicious. I also made mashed potatoes, yes I did. And we have our brown rice, ground chicken, black bean dish over here, lots of protein, low fat. And lastly, we have our pork fried rice, which is a meal all on its own. Pair it with the broccoli, you're good to go. Again, this green salad is gonna take you through the week. Anything left over, put on the salad. Leftover chicken, leftover tuna. And we didn't forget about the kids. We have a little packed lunch for them over here with our peanut butter and banana sandwich, sliced apples, and some chips. So just keep in mind, everything in moderation. Yes, we wanna be healthy, but we understand that kids need variety and they need something fun too. And don't forget, we still have this oatmeal for breakfast and all these apples. What I would recommend, throw them in a pan with some brown sugar and some cinnamon, and they would be really great in the oatmeal for your kids. We have peanut butter, celery sticks, which is a great healthy snack. We do have 100% apple juice. My one note on this, if you are drinking this daily, I would just dilute it a little bit with water. And then don't forget the hot dogs up there, ham, great lunch for the kids.